Single dad's incredible moment at the playground reveals mute girl's hidden voice after 7 years. Mike wiped the sweat off his brow as he leaned against the park's graffiti-covered fence. It was Saturday, his favorite day of the week, time spent with Alex at the playground, their sanctuary filled with laughter and joy. As he gazed at the sea of children running around, he felt the weight of the world lift just a little. Today was different. Today, magic was in the air. His 10-year-old son, full of energy, ran towards the swings, eyes sparkling like the sun shining down on them. Mike clutched a bag of popcorn, that irresistible aroma filling his senses, reminding him of the good times they shared. Suddenly, his gaze caught on a little girl who sat all alone on the swing. Her name was Lily. At 7 years old, she held a world of secrets behind her gentle eyes, a mute child who had yet to experience the joy of a voice. Alex, ever the social butterfly, approached her with curiosity, but hesitated. Mike could see the longing in Lily's eyes, an unexpressed joy buried under years of silence. He felt something stir within him. "Hey, buddy," he said, nudging Alex, "why don't you invite her to join you?" With a shy smile, Alex stepped forward. "Want to play with us?" he asked. For a moment, the world held its breath. Then, with immense courage, Lily broke into a wide grin and nodded, grasping the chain of the swing tighter. The laughter soon echoed louder amidst the playground, spilling over like vibrant colors from an artist's brush. In that moment, innocence shattered the unspoken barriers of judgment. Little hands reached for each other, hair whipping in the wind, and for the first time, Lily's laughter harmonized with Alex's as they played tag. It was pure bliss, a beautiful scene, slowly bridging the gap that had kept them apart for so long. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue, but then came the moment that would shatter reality. A dog, barking madly, dashed across the park, scattering families like leaves in a storm. Panic erupted. Mike's heart raced, he instinctively lunged forward, hoping to stop the chaos. Fleeting seconds dragged on as he sprinted, a swirl of energy coursing through him, and then the silence shattered. A crystal-clear voice broke through the muffled cries, calling out for help. "Please, help him." It was Lily. The words burst forth, echoing in the stillness, like a song finally sung. Gasps erupted from the crowd, tears brimmed in the eyes of a once doubtful mother. At that moment, a whole community witnessed a miracle unfold. As Mike caught the frenzied dog, his heart swelled. They all stood there, locked in that moment of realization. Hope, kindness, and acceptance coursed through the air, healing wounds deeper than they could ever know. But in the background, whispers persisted, the struggles of judgment still looming. Would Lily's newfound voice be enough to change perceptions? Mike glanced at Alex, whose face radiated pride as he looked at Lily, the warmth enveloping them all. Today had sparked something new, but as light seeped into the souls around, Mike couldn't shake the feeling. Was this just the beginning? The playground buzzed with lingering questions, the promise of transformation hanging tantalizingly in the air. The atmosphere at the playground crackled with energy as the aftermath of the shocking revelation settled over the crowd. Families began to gather around Lily and Alex, curiosity lighting their faces like a sudden flicker of hope. Mike watched as parents whispered to one another, exchanging gleeful yet bashful glances towards the girl who had taken the first step out of the shadows of silence. Lily stood at the center of the gathering, her cheeks flushed pink, almost radiant. She fiddled with the hem of her shirt, excitement battling a sudden shyness brought on by all the attention. Mike's heart ached at the sight. This was a girl learning to find her place in a world that had kept her at arm's length for so long. It was a feeling too beautiful to capture, a rawness that reached deep. He wanted to wrap her in his arms, to tell her that she was more than a discovery, she was a treasure. "Did you hear her?" She spoke. one parent exclaimed, clapping their hands together, the sound sharp against the tender air. Alex stood beside Lily, beaming, his pride overflowing like a river. "Yeah," she said. "Help." He gestured eagerly, the innocence of childhood shining through. In that moment, the playground transformed. The sun seemed to light up every corner, the laughter of children tangled with shouts of joy. Parents began to approach Lily, nudging their children forward, eager to welcome her into the fold. "Hey, do you want to play with us?" a little boy asked, his eyes wide with promise. It was as if the universe had unlocked a door, one that had been bolted shut for far too long. "Yes. Let us play." Lily's voice rang out again, this time stronger, full of life. The hesitation that once marred her expression melted away, replaced by pure glee. Mike couldn't help but smile, the echoes of a new beginning swirling around them, but amidst the laughter and celebration, a familiar tension nagged at him. He caught snippets of whispers from the crowd, the skepticism, the wonder, the concerned murmurs about whether Lily's voice could really change how others saw her. Would this precious moment carry beyond the park, past the confines of today, and redefine not just how they viewed her, but the entire landscape of difference? Just then, Lily turned to Alex, a flicker of mischief dancing in her eyes. "Race you to the slide?" she challenged. With joyful determination, they took off, laughter trailing behind them, the kind of sound music is made of. Mike stood still for a moment, soaking in the energy surrounding him. Children's voices blended into a symphony of play. He felt something shift, an intangible energy that filled him with hope. As they played, Mike sensed that they were not just watching a girl find her voice, they were witnessing the birth of acceptance in motion. Yet, as he tried to let the warmth wash over him, a familiar figure appeared on the edge of the crowd, Lily's mother. Mike's heart sank as her eyes locked onto the scene. The expression on her face was a mix of fear and dread, a shadow that loomed over the light, cutting into the joy like a knife. What would happen when her mother intervened? Would Lily's moment of happiness be overshadowed by doubt and fear? Just then, the sound of laughter rang out again, but this time it was intermingled with tension, almost a cry reverberating in the air. Lily's laughter danced on the wind, a sweet melody that momentarily quieted the world. But the deeper Mike listened, the more he sensed an undercurrent of worry. He stole a glance at Lily's mother, whose presence cast a shadow over the vibrant gathering. The tension in the air thickened, each vibrant laugh now tinged with a pang of uncertainty. "Lily. Honey, come here." Her mother called, her voice crisp and anxious. The excitement in Lily's eyes faltered, just like that a flicker of confusion where joy once resided. She hesitated at the base of the slide, glancing back at Alex, his face a mix of enthusiasm and concern. "Just a minute, Mom." Lily replied, her voice a bit smaller now, as if trying to balance her newfound freedom with the familiar chains of doubt. Mike felt a rush of protectiveness. This was not just a moment for Lily, it was a shift in the dynamics of their community, a chance for understanding in a world too often painted in shades of gray. But her mother's anxious tone sang a familiar refrain, one that Mike had heard echo through his own life, the call of fear, of worry over what the world might do to those they loved. He stepped forward, positioning himself between Lily and her mother. "Hey, let her enjoy this. She's found her voice," he said gently, meeting her mother's eyes with an earnestness that held unspoken hope. But she's not ready," her mother stammered, her voice trembling with concern. "What if she can't sustain it? What if she fails?" Mike interrupted softly. "What if she simply explores who she is? She deserves to find joy just like any other child. And who knows? Maybe we all do." Lily's eyes flickered between the two adults. Mike could see her heart racing, caught right in the middle. "Mom, please," Lily finally said, her voice firming up. "I want to play. I want to be like everyone else." The words hung in the air, a revelation as powerful as the sun shining through the clouds. Mike felt pride swell in his chest. Sometimes the bravest thing someone could do was to demand to be seen, to want to partake in the simple magic of existence, especially after years of silence. Lily's mother's face softened, uncertainty playing across her features. I don't want you to get hurt. I don't want them, they want to hurt me, Mom. Lily interrupted, an unexpected strength surging through her. Alex stepped in beside her, gaze steady. She's one of us now. Just let her be. The swirl of hesitant energy around them began to shift as parents continued to approach, this time with reassured smiles. Let her take this leap, Mike said, keeping his tone comforting yet firm. The moment stretched, each heartbeat resonating as he waited for her decision. Finally, Lily's mother took a deep breath, her shoulders relaxing a fraction. Okay, she whispered, though uncertainty still lingered. But I'll be right here. The relief that washed over Lily was palpable. She turned back to the slide, her smile bursting forth once again, like the sun breaking after a storm. Race you! She called, taking Alex's hand and dashing up to the play structure. The laughter that erupted filled the playground once more. It was a sound rich with potential, and Mike felt hope spiral through him. But just as quickly as it climbed, that hope simmered with a new sobering awareness. The world was not simply an open field, it was a labyrinth of perceptions, fears, and varying levels of acceptance. As the laughter rang through the air, a sigh escaped Mike's lips. It felt like a beginning, but shadows still lingered at the edges. Would everyone embrace what they were witnessing? Hey Mike! A familiar voice interrupted, pulling him from his thoughts. He turned to see a figure approaching from the distance, a local news reporter, camera crew in tow. What's happening here? She said, her eyes glinting with intrigue as she caught sight of Lily and Alex. The weight of the moment settled upon him once again. Was this about to become more than just a simple playground story? Feeling the tension rise, Mike thought, what would happen now? Would this moment ignite change beyond the park, or would it whirl too quickly into a media frenzy, risking the very essence of what they had started? Let us see where this goes, he whispered to himself, as he braced for the storm about to unfold. Mike's pulse quickened as he squared his shoulders, preparing himself for whatever the reporter might throw at him. The camera crew fanned out around the park, their presence felt like a sudden gust of wind, stirring uncertainty and excitement in equal measure. Can we film the kids? The reporter asked, her tone both firm and curious as she gestured towards Lily and Alex at the towering slide. Wait, Mike blurted, the protectiveness igniting within him again. Can we keep it focused on the moment rather than the kids? This is about them discovering joy, not just a story for clicks. The reporter paused, considering his request. I understand. But we're here to highlight the incredible journey and the breakthrough moment for Lily. She looked at him intently, as if trying to gauge his concerns. Behind them, Lily and Alex climbed higher, their shouts of laughter echoing out, pure and untainted. A ball of energy erupted as they surged down the slide, each whoosh causing their laughter to rise in volume, an enchanting sound that danced through the tension-filled air. Mike felt a glimmer of hope. Perhaps this could be good. Perhaps it could help others. But the weight of responsibility bore down on him like a heavy cloak. Okay, but I want to make sure we're not inviting ridicule or judgment. This is a moment of freedom. Absolutely, I promise, the reporter replied earnestly, already pivoting to capture their laughter. She was quick, her camera trained on them, the lens holding possibilities yet unknown. As Mike watched the bright colors of the playground swirl around him, fear tugged at the edges of his thoughts. What if sharing this moment drew negative attention? What if Lily faced scrutiny, the vulnerability of her expression laid bare to a world that might not understand? His heart ached for her, the wish for her to be safe warred with a desire for a brighter future, a world where children like her could just be. With every click of the camera, Mike was struck by the stark contrast of joy and worry. Mothers and fathers nearby turned their gazes toward the commotion, eyebrows raised, speculation whispering through the murmurs. Did you see that? One father said, nodding toward the slide. After all those years. He sensed the shift in energy, the collective anticipation spreading like wildfire. How would this moment be interpreted? Would it resonate or add fuel to the flames of doubt? Alright, everyone. The reporter's voice rang out, amplifying the moment. This is a celebration. The words hung between them like a fragile thread, vibrating with expectation. A feel-good story could lead to openness, but it could just as easily turn to a spectacle. As Lily and Alex reached the base of the slide again, the world around them briefly faded. Mike caught sight of Lily's beaming smile, a pure reflection of newfound freedom. It was intoxicating. But in the corner of his mind, a question simmered: would the world embrace her light or dim it down with shadows? Mike, we need your insight, the reporter said, pulling him back into reality. What does this moment mean to you and to Lily? The camera focused in on him, lenses capturing his hesitations and hopes. It was in that instant that he realized the answer was more significant than he had thought. Taking a deep breath, he opened his mouth to speak, the words forming a bridge between the moment and the potential he glimpsed. But just as he began, the distant sound of a commotion built into the atmosphere, stirring something deeper in his gut. Wait, what is happening? He asked, scanning the playground. A group of older kids, brimming with rebellion and attitude, approached the area where Lily and Alex played. Mike's heart raced again, instinctively sensing an eruption of conflict on the horizon. Is this about to turn into something more? He wondered, dread creeping into the edges of his hope. He stood firm, ready to protect, and as the laughter reeled back, he braced himself for the unfolding storm. Mike's instincts kicked in as the older kids encroached on the playground. They moved with swagger, skin taut with energy, an air of careless bravado surrounding them. He could see the way their eyes darted towards Lily and Alex, their playful spirits clamoring for attention, a challenge hovering in the air. Stay close. Mike shouted, his voice harsher than he intended. He had to make sure they knew they belonged there, that the laughter they shared wasn't a target to take aim at. Look at them, one of the older kids said, pointing at Lily and Alex, a smirk spreading across his face. What are they, like 5? Lily bounced off the slide, her laughter still ringing out like a beacon, but the word struck like a pebble in the pond, sending ripples of uncertainty through Mike. He stepped forward, squaring his shoulders. They're having fun. Why don't you join in instead of picking on them? The older kids laughed, the sound bitter and sharp, each note filled with mockery. Join in? With the tater tot brigade? Mike felt anger simmering just below the surface, but he had to tread carefully. He remembered why they were here. He thought of Lily. I'm not asking for you to join them, he said, his voice steadying. But I'm asking you to leave them alone. The intensity of his gaze met theirs. Maybe he could defuse the situation before it became something bigger. In the backdrop, the reporter was still filming, her camera capturing every uncomfortable moment. The atmosphere, once so filled with joy, now buzzed with tension. Parents nearby sensed the shift, their eyes darting back and forth, whispers rising as they tried to gauge the risk. The older kids seemed caught off guard by Mike's intensity. For a moment, the smirks faltered. But then, an older girl among them stepped up, eyebrows raised in challenge. What are you gonna do? Call our parents? Cry foul because we're just having fun? Before Mike could respond, Lily, oblivious to the looming storm, took a single step forward. I want to play. She shouted, her voice sweet but firm, breaking through the tension like sunlight breaking through dark clouds. Everyone paused. The group of older kids stared, the confidence fading from their faces as they processed her words. Mike's heart lifted for a moment. Could Lily's innocent bravery shield them from cruelty? But the girl in charge shook her head, looking at Lily like a puzzle she couldn't solve. You can't play with us. You're too different. That word different hit Mike hard. It was a label, a boundary meant to separate. But to Lily, who had fought so long for her voice, it meant nothing. Her smile dimmed for just a second, but not enough to hide the fire in her eyes. Why not? She pressed, crossing her arms defiantly. You don't even know me. In this moment, Mike felt a swell of pride alongside a pang of anxiety. Would the courage she displayed spark kindness, or ignite resentment? The older kids exchanged glances, uncertainty creeping in. For the first time, they seemed unsure of themselves. But just as it felt like hope was surfacing, the girl turned and rolled her eyes. Whatever she muttered, but her resolve seemed shaky. Just then, a whistle blew from across the park, signaling the end of a game nearby. The attention shifted away from Mike and the kids, and that hint of distraction began to diffuse the situation. "Let us go," the girl commanded, a last attempt to rally her friends. They started to back away, but Mike could see the change in the air. They were rattled now, the bravado slipping. "See you later, tater tots," one of the boys sneered as they walked away, but the sting of their words lost weight behind the retreating laughter. Mike exhaled slowly, recognizing the sound of laughter now as freedom ringing through the park. He turned to Lily, who stood tall with her arms still crossed. "You held your own there," he said, pride swelling in his chest. "I don't want them to think I'm just different," she replied, the flicker of her earlier joy shadowed slightly. "You're not just different. You're amazing, and you have a voice to share." The reporter, sensing the shift in momentum, approached carefully, ready to capture whatever came next. "Can we film you, Lily, while you explain what you just did?" But before she could respond, another piercing laughter erupted nearby, drawing everyone's attention once again. It came from a different part of the park, louder and more chaotic than before. "Mike, what's that?" Lily asked, her eyes widening, a mix of curiosity and trepidation. He felt the weight of that question settle in the air. What challenge awaited them next? Mike turned toward the sound, his heart racing anew. It was hard to describe, but it felt like the laughter was twisting, becoming something sharper and more dangerous. As it rolled through the park, a wave of chaos began to break loose just beyond the sandbox. "Stay close, okay?" Mike said, his voice steady but urgent. He took a step toward Lily, holding her hand solidly in his. They watched as a group of rowdy kids from the other side of the playground surged forward, kicking up dirt and feathers from the nearby bird feeders in their midst. "What are they doing?" Mike murmured to no one in particular. He could see the roughhousing escalating. It wasn't just playful anymore, a shoving match broke out amidst the wild laughter. It was infectious, pulling curious kids into its orbit, but Mike knew it could quickly devolve into something ugly. Lily squeezed his hand. Mike could feel her little fingers trembling. She was watching, wide-eyed, uncertainty wreaking havoc on her hopeful demeanor. His protector instinct kicked in again, more fierce than before. "Let us go over there," he suggested, nodding toward the commotion. "It doesn't look safe." As they approached, Mike inhaled deeply, ready to intervene if necessary. They moved closer to an area where kids often gathered, a natural stage for showdowns and displays of bravery. He noticed Lily was inching forward, her gaze locked on the group. Suddenly, a loud bang cut through the air, a metal baseball bat, tossed too hastily, had struck the ground. It sent everyone scattering, panic flaring like a firecracker. Mike felt Lily tug at his arm, her wide eyes rimmed with fright. He dropped down to her level, bringing their faces close together. "Lily, listen. If anything happens, find me, okay? You can be brave too." A frown formed on her face, but the fire she had shown earlier flickered back to life. "I want to help," she insisted, her voice rising with determination. Before Mike could argue, she let go of his hand and took a step forward, the gleam of possibility igniting her stance. Her eyes fixed on the group, now in a heated squabble over who was at fault for the bat's errant throw. He watched as she shuffled closer, a hesitant figure stepping into a tangle of shouting kids. Some were burying the embarrassment of their mistake with bravado while others stood back, unsure. "Hey!" Lily called out, her voice cutting through the din. It was small but clear. Heads turned. A surprised silence fell, the tension shifting as all eyes fell on her. The scene felt suspended in air. Mike's heart dropped as the shocked gazes seemed to bore into her. Would they mock her again? Would they listen? "I just saw you play," she continued, her cheeks flushing slightly but her spirit unyielding. "We all just want to have fun." The older kids hesitated, and for the first time, they seemed to see her, not as different, but as someone who genuinely wanted to connect. A boy scratched the back of his head, the bravado fading from his grin. "Yeah, why don't we just chill and play?" he suggested. His words came hesitantly, a faint offer of truce amidst the preceding chaos. Mike felt something open in his chest, a swell of hope. Lily's shout had changed the mood. Maybe she could lead them back to joy instead of confrontation. But just as things began to shift for the better, another high-pitched laugh erupted from behind them. It was the group of older kids who had walked away earlier. Their presence echoed through the park, a haunting reminder of how quickly things could change. "What's this? The tater-tot brigade trying to play grown-up?" one of them mocked, her voice dripping with disdain. Mike's blood ran cold. Would this moment of connection that Lily had ignited flicker out? He turned back to her, urgency gripping the air. "Lily, stay close." But it was too late, she was already stepping forward again, levity dancing in her eyes despite the tension that loomed. "Just because we're little doesn't mean we can't play too," she shouted, defiantly standing firm. He held his breath, staring at the whirlwind of kids, waiting to see what would happen next. Why did bravery come so easily to her, while he felt trapped behind entwined emotions? Something shifted in the crowd, but was it hope blooming or another storm brewing? Only time would tell what chaos would unfurl next. It felt like time had stopped. The air was thick with tension, a palpable mixture of hope and dread. Mike held his breath as Lily stood firm, facing the older kids with a brave heart and determined eyes. The group began to stifle their laughter, uncertain and not quite ready to dismiss her. "Yeah!" yelled one of the younger kids, emboldened by Lily's courage. "We just want to play." A ripple of agreement spread through the onlookers. It was exhilarating and terrifying all at once. Mike couldn't look away. Could they actually turn this around? The older kids exchanged glances, their bravado starting to buckle under the weight of the unexpected alliance forming before them. A boy who had been strutting around like a peacock now shifted nervously on his feet. "Back off, tater-tot." The girl who had mocked Lily shouted again, her confidence fading. "They don't know what real fun is anyway." For a brief moment, Lily faltered, her shoulders sagging. But she quickly squared them away, gathering strength from the murmurs of support around her. "Fun isn't about being big or tough," she replied, her small voice cutting through the remnants of laughter. "It's about playing together. Just like you did before." The tension cracked. Kids looked around at each other, a slow awareness dawning on them. The defiance in Lily's words lit a tiny spark of understanding. One by one, heads nodded hesitantly. Mike dared to step closer, inching forward despite the fears gnawing at him. He needed to be near her, to guard her in case this moment twisted again in an unexpected direction. "Come on!" a little boy in the front called out, excitement bubbling in his voice. "Let's just play. We can take turns." Slowly, a makeshift game started to rise from the ashes of conflict. Kids collected their sticks, dirted sneakers, and renewed spirit smiles broke through the uncertain clouds that had settled harshly moments prior. "Fine." The mocking girl spat, though her tone had lost its edge. "Just don't get in the way when we start swinging." But her words held less bravado now. With every moment, the playground transformed. It became a vibrant place of laughter, echoing with the sounds of joyful commotion as the kids began to play tag, uniting in the spirit of the game rather than the chaos. Mike felt a warmth spread through his chest, swelling pride for his daughter. She was shining, exuding an energy that captivated the crowd. Her familiar smile burst forth, and Mike couldn't help but wonder how much she'd grown in that brief exchange. In that moment, she transformed from an underdog into a beacon. "See?" Mike whispered to himself, a smile creeping onto his face. Maybe her courage could inspire others. As the games continued, Mike glanced at Lily and noticed a quiet boy who had been standing at the edge of the chaos. He watched Lily with wide eyes, seemingly debating whether to join in or remain an observer. With determination, she approached him, bending down to reach his eye level. "Wanna play?" she asked, voice gentle yet confident. As she extended her hand, Mike's heart raced again. Was this another leap of courage? Would he see her grow in ways he had always hoped? But just then, there was a sudden shriek from the older kids, fluttering through the air like a loose kite. "Hey! What's that?" Mike whipped around to see something dart toward them, a flicker of strange shadows in the sunlight. A momentary hush fell as anxiety tightened around them like an unsettled breeze. What now? Would this be the moment everything unraveled? Would they find another challenge ahead, just when they had started to foster something extraordinary? The park, once a backdrop of laughter, now felt charged with suspense. Just what was coming their way? The crowd shifted uneasily, their laughter now stilled, transformed into a shared heartbeat of anticipation. Mike squinted against the sun, trying to make sense of the strange object racing through the air. It moved with unnatural speed, glimmering at the edges like a mirage. "What is that?" One of the younger kids whispered, his voice barely rising above the murmurs. Lily paused, hands still outstretched toward the quiet boy who had been wavering. Just as she turned to see what had shocked everyone, the object swooped down, landing not far from her, a small, furry creature. A rabbit. White as snow, but its fur matted and wild, as if it had been running for its life. The kids stared, wide-eyed, their earlier tension forgotten as curiosity surged through them. The older kids, just moments ago ready to assert dominance, now took cautious steps forward, excitement breaking through their bravado. Lily's eyes sparkled. "Look at it. It's scared." She crouched, inching closer, her voice soft. "Come here, little bunny." All eyes were on her now, mesmerized. With each frame of her gentle approach, the playground faded away, and there was only Lily and the trembling creature. Mike felt his heart swell again, pride coursing through him. His daughter was a light in the dark, and the world around her began to shift, but just as she was within arm's reach, a boy from the older group lunged forward, hands outstretched. "Let me catch it. We can keep it." Everyone gasped, the gentle atmosphere shattering. "Stop!" Lily yelled, voice sharp and commanding, and for a brief moment, that little girl they had all underestimated was gone. "It's scared, and if you really want to play, you have to think about its feelings too." Her words hung in the air, a profound silence replacing the noise. Mike's heart raced as he watched hesitation flash across the faces of the older kids. They looked at each other, as if reading from the same book for the first time, understanding dawning in their eyes. Yeah, it's just a rabbit," the boy mumbled, stepping back reluctantly. Lily straightened and took a deep breath, gathering her courage once more. This was her moment. She stepped forward in defiance, crossing the threshold that separated empathy from fear. "If we can be nice, we can play. Just like I said before." The tension began to dissolve, laughter returning, but this time it felt lighter, softer. The older kids exchanged glances, and one by one, they took a step back, allowing Lily to kneel beside the rabbit as the other kids gathered at a respectful distance. "Can I help?" the quiet boy murmured, now emboldened by Lily's bravery. "Yes." Lily beamed, a spark igniting between them. "Let us see if we can lead it to safety." Mike watched as they formed a small team, moving gently and deliberately. Hope fluttered in his chest. Lily's voice had taken shape, not just in words but in the wisdom of her actions. The rabbit blinked with wary curiosity, slowly inching forward towards them, and for the first time, the divisions began to fade. Suddenly, a thought struck Mike. Could this moment of kindness heal old wounds? The importance of Lily's actions reverberated in ways that extended far beyond the playground, igniting a deeper mission, but before they could guide the rabbit away, a loud barking broke through. A dog had appeared at the edge of the park, yanking on its leash, eager and full of energy. The rabbit froze, hearts pounding with the sudden wave of urgency. What chaos would this bring? Would Lily's newfound courage sustain under such pressure? Just as the realization settled in, both children and the newly arrived dog were about to intertwine forces in ways no one ever anticipated. Would they stand together, or would fear claw back into play? Mike's breath caught in his throat as the dog bolted forward, barking and tugging on its owner's leash. The rabbit, frozen in place, sensed the danger and its tiny frame quivered. Just moments before, there was a gentle unity. Now, chaos hovered like a storm cloud overhead. Lily, however, didn't retreat. She instinctively positioned herself between the rabbit and the charging dog. No. Her voice rang out, a mixture of fear and determination. The other children fell silent, eyes glued on her. That moment stretched out, time felt elastic. The dog's owner, a teenage girl who had been obliviously chatting with friends, yanked back on the leash and called out. Lola! Stop! But the dog was excited, its instincts pushing it forward, wanting to play, or perhaps chase. Mike could feel his heartbeat quicken, echoing in his ears. He took a step forward but restrained himself. This was Lily's moment. He had to trust her. Everyone, stay still. Lily commanded, her hands raised slightly as if to ward off the dog. The kids watched in awe as Lily steadied herself, channeling her fear into focus. We can't scare it, just give it time. The crowd began to stand as a protective wall around her, some calling softly to the rabbit in encouragement. You can do it. They'd whisper, their wide eyes shimmering with earnestness. Lola, the dog, caught a whiff of the rabbit's anxiety and paused. The gleam in its eyes shifted, curious instead of aggressive. The owner's grip tightened, but slowly, she began to realize the tension. Hey! Sit! Good girl, she called, diverting her dog's attention back to her. Mike knew that for instinctively kind children, the instinct to protect can become a reflex. They were experiencing a transformation right there in the park. Lily was leading a rally for compassion. Let us all take a big breath, Lily suggested, her chest rising and falling as she demonstrated. Surprisingly, the kids complied and mimicked her, their collective breaths forming a wave of calm. Even Lola seemed to respond. The barking softened as the dog tilted its head at the gathering crowd, curiosity overtaking its chase drive. Lily, sensing the shift in energy, crouched lower. Just let it come to us. Her voice was a gentle breeze amidst the tension, and somehow, her calmness trickled into the hearts of those around her. The rabbit took a tentative step forward, then another, drawn by trust rather than fear. That's it, Lily cooed. You're safe here. Tears pricked at Mike's eyes as he watched his daughter. She was all at once brave and vulnerable, the embodiment of hope. Lily reached out, not to capture the rabbit, but to create a welcoming space for it. The creature took one more step until it was just close enough for its whiskers to twitch at Lily's fingertips. Gradually, the laughter returned, but it was accompanied now by soft sighs of relief. The older kids, who had once been more interested in conquering than caring, stood humbled. But then, a new sound emerged, a soft whimpering that contrasted sharply with the earlier commotion. It was the boy who had tried to grab the rabbit. I didn't mean any harm, he stammered, his voice barely audible over the returned interests of those watching. I just wanted to show off. Lily's head turned, her eyes meeting his, thoughtful and compassionate. You were just excited, she replied kindly. But think about what would happen if we rushed in, how it would feel to be scared, just like that rabbit. We can all play, but we have to be careful. His face flushed with embarrassment, but the openness in her eyes challenged the shame, offering a chance for growth. A moment of clarity washed over the group. Everyone became quiet, reflecting on this interaction. Would this shared understanding be the moment that changed everything, a bond forged in kindness? And just then, as the rabbit cautiously approached Lily's outstretched hand, a sudden crash echoed from the swings, drawing their attention away. Something bright had fallen from a child's pocket. Was it another surprise waiting to unfold, or would it break the fragile connection that had just formed? As the sun dipped toward the horizon, a momentarily misplaced ball toy crashed to the ground with a dull thud. It rolled away, narrowly missing the feet of the children who stood in anticipation, watching the rabbit inch closer to Lily. As they gasped, the tension shifted back into the reality of the park surrounding them. Kids whispered among themselves, some pointing at the fallen toy like they were expecting a showdown. For a heartbeat, fear rippled through the gathered crowd, but Lily stood strong. Rocking on her heels, she whispered soothing words to the rabbit, a sweet melody rippling through the air. "You're safe here, little one." With that, she extended her hand toward the rabbit, palm upward, creating a safe path to trust. The rabbit, slowly, cautiously, took 2 careful hops forward, its twitching nose investigating the warmth emanating from the gentle girl. Mike held his breath, wrapped in a blanket of hope and pride, watching the transformation unfold. Then, as if those moments were choreographed, the older kids stepped forward, like reluctant soldiers returning from battle. "We didn't mean to scare it," the boy who had once lunged to catch the rabbit admitted, his voice deepening with realization. Emboldened by the sight of the rabbit now tentatively approaching Lily, he continued, "We just thought it would be funny." But Lily, arms still outstretched, didn't respond with anger. Instead, she offered understanding. "We just need to think about how others feel. Like how we feel when we see someone playing alone. It doesn't feel good, right?" The other kids shifted, embarrassed yet contemplative, nodding along with her easy honesty. "I saw you all laughing before," Lily said, flicking her bright gaze on each of them. "It felt good, didn't it? Let us not ruin that. Maybe we can all play together." The gravity of her words sank in, a wave of realization washing over them. The tension dissolved into shared smiles as they gathered in closer, circling the rabbit and Lily, as if forming a united front against negativity. With giggles tentatively breaking through the quiet, the group began to talk about what game they could play next, not just a game of tag or swings but something that woven compassion into it. The sound of laughter rose again, a refreshing echo of youthful joy fluttering through the atmosphere. Mike watched, tears stinging his eyes, feeling a raw power radiating from this transformed gathering. It was as if they had caught a glimpse of something extraordinary, vulnerability met by strength, joy lifted by kindness. He realized that Lily's miracle was not just in finding her voice, it was about being heard. Lily, with her newfound confidence, turned to the older kids. "How about we all play a game where we help each other?" she proposed. The help and play game. Amidst the growing excitement, suggestions flew back and forth. They brainstormed, laughter bubbling like a brook full of life. Of course, they need rules, ones that guide this dance of newly found compassion, principles founded in respect instead of dominance. As Mike marveled at the scene, the reporter looked on with an approving smile. Perhaps this was the powerful message she'd come to capture. Real unity on display, birthed from Lily's quiet bravery, transforming strangers into friends. "Okay," they cried, shrugging off their doubts and embracing this spark of possibility. And so, as a collective, every child joined hands, intertwining their diverse backgrounds and stories into this joyful tapestry of play. Lily felt the warmth spread through her chest, an overwhelming sense of belonging, and realized she had found something bigger than her voice. She had found her place in a community. The margins that had once felt so vast through years of silence began to fade, replaced with affectionate acceptance from classmates and newfound allies. From that day forward, the playground remained transformed. Mike knew in his heart that they all had a long journey ahead, filled with challenges and lessons, but this moment proved that courage breeds connection, and compassion welds bonds tighter than blood. Every child's laughter rang through the air, a gentle reminder to them all that openness can light up the darkest corners, and as the last rays of sunshine consumed the day, Mike wrapped his arms around Alex and Lily, feeling their radiant smiles warm his heart like summer. This was not the end of their story, it was merely the beginning, a peek into the world yet to be explored, where friendship sprouted from the kindness they spread. With a sense of wonder and determination, Mike smiled at Lily, his heart echoed with gratitude, knowing that sometimes, all it takes is a single voice to start a symphony, and now, as you finish this touching tale, it's time for you to act. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next inspiring stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread more positivity. Comment your thoughts, reactions, and feelings about this ending. Your voice matters here. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation and the power of connection. Let us create a community that believes in kindness together.